keep going through, like, I worried about a lot about transistor size and where this competing feature really going. So just go through some sort of things and let's see what he says, and I hope you can hear this.
A silicon atom has a diameter of about 0.2 to 0.25 nanometers. If we're talking about a transistor size of 0.3 nanometers, it would be roughly the size of one or possibly two silicon atoms lined up. Here's a
So you understand, right? It's a very small, like a 0.2 to 0.25 nanometer, just a few silicon atoms. I mean, just one or two. So when we go beyond that, like I'm talking about 0.1 nanometer or beyond that, like a picometer, femtometer, something like that, it's get much more exciting. I mean, the rules will be changed a lot. So I mean, what the technology is to make new kind of computing is without transistors, and it's probably the time for the quantum or some other things also.
rough calculation. Silicon atomic diameter 0.2 to 0.25 nanometers. Transistor size 0.3 nanometers. At 0.3 nanometers, you're looking at a scale where the transistor could be roughly the size of a single silicon atom, or slightly larger. In practical terms, the transistor structure at this scale would involve a very small number of atoms, potentially just a handful. This level of miniaturization poses significant challenges in terms of fabrication and maintaining performance and reliability. As we push to these extreme scales, we also need to consider quantum effects and other phenomena that become significant at such tiny scales.
So I'm just thinking about the quantum, what kind of quantum effects play a role in those things, and like so just search for this question. You're touching on the limits of scaling and whether there's a framework beyond quantum effect. Framework beyond quantum effect. When device shrinks further, here's how the terminology shall break down. Classical scaling. Transistors behave mostly classical ways with electrostatic dominating. Okay. So let me just play this and just listen to this.
Great question. You're touching on the limits of scaling and whether there's a framework beyond quantum. Great engineering name like FATMO size, but research 1 to 5 nanometers. When you shrink to this scale, phenomena like quantum tunneling, quantum confinement, and discrete energy levels dominate. This is often called the quantum size effect region. Subatomic post-quantum size below quantized 0.3, 0.5 nanometers. At this point, you're essentially talking about the scale of single atoms in subatomic physics. There isn't a widely accepted engineering name like FATMO size, but researchers sometimes use terms like sub-quantum regime or atomic scale electronics, single atom transistors, SATs, molecular electronics where the device is literally one molecule, beyond quantum limits in some physics discussions. So once you go smaller than the quantum size regime, you're not really talking about transistors in the traditional sense anymore. Instead, it shifts into atomic scale devices where the laws of quantum field theory and even particle physics can come into play. There's no official term like FETMO size, but if you wanted to coin a concept for beyond quantum transistor scaling, it would likely fall under sub-quantum electronics or molecular atomic electronics. Do you want me to pull up if any researchers have already suggested a new formal term for?
Yeah, I just wonder what might be the beyond the quantum size, and there's something like I just go beyond the nanometers, like angstrom, and after that like FETMO, pico. I think pico. After that FETMO, something 10 to the 15, something like that. So just wondering through all this, and okay, let's just go on to the sub-quantum regime, atomic scale electronics, single atom transistors. Oh, what does it might be like? I'm kind of curious about that. It was just my okay, it's just giving me a different from traditional scale. use millions of atoms. SAT use one. Yeah. So traditional FETs use millions. So millions. I'm just wondering how millions of atoms. Yeah, it's everything is a wonder because 1000 nanometer is kind of a one hair size, and we went beyond that, and it is astonishing to think about how we made a progress. Like when we exploring this space or going beyond that, give us some opportunity like that when we go into the smaller world like quantum and beyond that, something like that. So it's the same thing, right, in the long run. So okay, let's listen to this.
A single atom transistor, say, is a real concept in research, and it's both similar to and different from a traditional transistor. Let me break it down. What it means. In a traditional transistor, you have a channel made of many atoms, like silicon, where electrons flow controlled by a gate. In a single atom transistor, the channel or active switching element is literally one atom, e.g. a phosphorus atom in silicon, or a single hydrogen molecule. The gate electrode still controls whether electrons can tunnel through that atom or not, so it functions as a switch. On, electron passes off, no current. How it works. At such small scales, quantum tunneling and discrete energy levels dominate. Instead of continuous current like in a MOSFET, current flows one electron at a time. This is sometimes called a single electron transistor, SET, when it relies on Coulomb blockade, controlling one electron at a time. Share similarities to traditional transistors, has source, drain, and gate terminals, can be switched on or off, can theoretically be used in logic circuits. Differences from traditional transistors. 1. Scale. Traditional FETs use millions of atoms. SAT uses 1. 2. Mechanism. Normal transistors rely on charge carriers in a semiconductor channel. SAT relies on quantum tunneling through one atom. 3. Behavior. Normal transistors give analog-like continuous currents. SAT gives discrete quantized current steps. 4. Practicality. SATs need ultra-low temperatures, close to absolute zero, in most experiments to remain stable, while silicon transistors work at room temp. Why they matter? They represent the ultimate scaling limit. You can't go smaller than one atom. They're useful as research tools to probe quantum effects and possible future quantum classical hybrid devices. Not yet practical for large-scale computing, but they point to a future where logic could be done at atomic precision. So, a single atom transistor is still a transistor. It has the same three-terminal concept, but it behaves very differently from traditional silicon MOSFETs because it operates in the quantum regime. Would you like me to also compare single atom transistors versus molecular transistors, where an entire molecule acts as the switching element?
I think that might be an interesting concept, and plus I just want to like ultimate scaling limit. Just no one is talking about the computing beyond that, right? It's so sad to think about that, and I'm happy because just we are going beyond the limits. That means there's a space for the new innovations, and we should innovate. That's what I'm saying. Every single time we should innovate. So I'm thinking like they're useful research tools to probe quantum effects and possible future quantum classical hybrid devices. So yeah, not yet practical for large scale computing, but yeah. So theoretical physics people have to play a role in this, I guess. So particle accelerators are just doing their work to find a new kind of a thing, and I'm just wondering where it leads. I'm just thinking how I'm going to make a new kind of computing, and just not a few companies dominate the place. And you know that the semiconductor process is very hard and very complicated. There's lots of resist, lots of materials playing a role, lithography, etching, doping, and lots of things going on that. So when we go to the next level, like UV is hard because of the size it is working on. Like when we go beyond that, it's going to be much more harder. I know that. So plus it might open any opportunities like from our traditional logic. When we say if you're going to go more smaller, it might get more challenging probably, but there won't be a case at some point. I think so like that. So I just wonder what can I do, like I'm just thinking about what is that TSMC will approach a new approach. Is that they considering something I know they do some research and all, like ASML might do something that they say they do spend a lot of money in the R&D, and I'm just thinking what is going to be the next thing. I mean, I usually go through everything from space tech. I love deep tech, and I do see new applications like for the material science, how we could use AI for better material science, and how it could simulate and how it could find out. Sadly, it doesn't did much exponential work in the past, but I hope it will do something in the future too. I wonder, like, it's not just, it won't be like a qubits and quantum dots, which will, like a quantum computing, they're saying it can't be like a traditional sense computing. So what we can do to make a quantum computing as a traditional sense computing, like people can do for the commercial tasks, like just imagine like a quantum computing for gaming, something like that. I know it won't happen, and people might ask why they should use the quantum computing for gaming when we have a classical computing. But I'm just thinking like when we go to the next generation of gaming and the processing power, we can do like something, it needs to do something like that. And I remember Jensen Huang asked that why should I use quantum computing for delivery services, like why it need a what kind of a thing it solves, something like that. Usually I don't like to think from a problem solving mindset, like people do say first find the problem and go for the solution, and not for the solution to problem. Certain things why we should follow those methods, and we just go which way we want, like okay, just go and see what will happen with the solution to problem. It's funny because it's idiotic thinking, but let's just say the solution might be going small, and it could provide some sort of problem, and we're going to find a solution for that. Like if you run out of problems, what do you have to solve, something like that? That might be the question, and it's a hard questions. And I'm just thinking, this is how my head processed, like okay, we have quantum, and quantum sensors also play a role in that. And mostly when they say quantum computing, they just focusing on the RSA, like encryption sort of things. But I'm just thinking how it's going to potentially fuel the science and technology, like AI could help us work in a very small size, less than 0.1 nanometer, and find out more things, more complexity, more theories, more new things, kind of a thing. So this is why the science and the STEMs, and I'm saying just science, not just physics, like chemistry, biology, everything, like STEMs, when it comes to mathematics, also play a role in that, and technology. STEMs, what is the engineering, of course. Engineering also play a role. So STEM is so important. So I just recommend everyone to go through every single subject, and you could draw a line between those, and you can connect those things. And I know you can't remember every single thing; it's hard. But I'm thinking like, yes, I'm thinking so hardly. Quantum tunneling, yes, it's just a discrete energy level dominate. I just wonder what is that, but I know the quantum tunneling, the electron might escape by that. Discrete energy level might, I don't know, maybe when we pack lots of transistors in a very tiny space, just get more heat. It just go for much more heat, and that's the problem too. So I can ask what is the discrete energy level and all those things are now. So single atom transistor is not that bad, I think so, but I just want to go beyond that, and I want to see how the gates or the logic is going to play in the future, like how the intelligence is going to play a role in those things. It's so interesting to think about. So discrete energy, where is the necessities? This is a hardware device behave different in the quantum world, and the energy is continuous. Okay, wait. Yeah, okay. The quantum and the classical world, for example, the electron in a wire can have any amount of energy depending on how much voltage you apply. Think of it like a ramp. You can stand anywhere on the slot. Okay, I'm just thinking like any amount of power you can give to one set of wire. Okay. I just understand the classical one now. I'm going to do the quantum one. energy becomes quantized, only discrete energy levels are allowed. So the main thing is I'm just trying to understand, like, yeah, an electron in a very tiny region like a single atom, quantum dots or nanoscale channels can only occupy specific energy states. So what does they mean by specific energy states? Like, so determine volt something like that, or how you can't have in between values. Think of it like a staircase. You can only stand on the steps, not in betweens. What? Think of it like a staircase. Yeah, we cannot stand in the between, but my mind asks, like, what if we could stand like that? That's how my mind works. So we're just thinking, what if we could stand like that? What does it happen? This comes over wave particle duality. Electrons were extended waves when confined. Wave trapped in a box. Quantum well can only have certain wavelength that fixed exactly inside. Okay, it's getting interesting. Like waves, particle theory, wave particle duality. Yeah, that's what they can tell. Since energy is tied to wavelength, I just have to understand this formula much more clearly, so I can ask ChatGPT or Google Gemini for more explanation. Like what it is SML2H2. How does formula work in a particular box model? only discrete energy values are possible. So because of the tiny things, I guess. Discrete energy problem in nanoscale electronics. When transistors shrink into the quantum size regime, the fact that electrons can only occupy specific energy level creates challenges. Of course, it gets just no smooth conduction. Okay, current flow doesn't flow continuously, but in jumps quantum conductance steps. This is interesting. So everything changes like that from the current flow to everything. Tunneling. Electrons can jump between levels by quantum tunneling, creating leakage currents. It's a huge problem, and could we have any opportunity there by that or by quantum conductance steps? I mean, continuous like a current jump, or could we make anything out of that also? Like, I'm just thinking of the device variability, because energy levels depends on atomic positions. Even one atom difference can change behavior, of course. Yeah, so I'm just talking about not just one atom. I just want to think about just going beyond that, inside the atom, nuclei. I know when we go to we are struggling in the few atoms like a nanometer sizes, but still I'm just thinking beyond that. It's going to be very challenging and exciting. Heat and stability at room temperature, thermal energy can randomly excite electrons between discrete layers, making the device unstable. At room temperature, thermal energy can randomly. Okay. The normal energy level might provoke the electrons, I guess. So heat and stability. So let's come to the in short, the discrete energy problem means that at quantum scales you can't treat energy as a smooth adjustable value anymore. Electrons are locked into energy steps. This is both a limitation how to build classical style devices and an opportunity basis for the quantum devices like qubits. So this is where it get much more exciting. Okay, like just read this part. You can't treat energy as a smooth adjustable value anymore. Electrons are locked into energy steps. So energy steps, this is both a limitation and hard to build a classical device, and it's opportunity to basis for quantum devices. So it's like energy steps. When we confine the energy in one like energy steps, so which is like a qubit, it changes. I guess it's becoming like a qubit basis for quantum devices. So somehow we have to make a quantum computing commercial viable, man. You want to explain me this in the real world transistor example, like how discrete energy levels appear in a single atom transistor? I would go but I just want to end the video here. Just probably I could share much more thinking, thoughts, and everything. Like just think about when we quantum come into the phones and everything. It might be exciting. So let's see.